Sections 6.1 and 6.2. In section 6.1, you will see questions like this. Tick one box for each term or sign. In the case of allegro, that means fast. And in the second question, dolce means sweet. And the third question, mesto means sad. In grade 5 theory exam, there are always 3 questions that relate to terms or signs. And in order to nail these questions, there is actually an official list that contains all the words that will possibly come up in the exam. And here it is. In this table, all the words in bold are the possible words that will come up in the exam. And they are mostly Italian words, although there are a few that are French or German. But in any case, I've included the meanings under each of these words. Apart from this table of musical terms, there are 2 more tables that summarize other things. The first one is this, and it summarizes mostly the articulation signs in music. For example, in the left column, the marcato, staccato, slurred, staccato, and staccatissimo signs, and so on. Although there are also other miscellaneous signs that you should remember. The third table divides into 2 sections. The first one on the left is specific to keyboard instruments such as the piano, and you'll see terms related to keyboard technique such as the use of pedal. On the right side, we have terms specific to strings such as the violin, and you'll see terms like arco, which means playing with the bow, or pizzicato, which means plucking the strings with your finger. Moving on to the next section, in 6.2 you will see questions like this. Tick one box to name each of the 2 written out ornaments, which are marked with brackets. In order to answer questions like this, we need to know what ornaments are in the first place. And here's how they look like. There are several ornaments in music. The first one is called the trill, and is commonly represented by the letters TR, whether it's followed by the wavy line or not. And this means whenever you see a sign like this, you will have to play the note in alteration with another note that is above it. And it's important to note that it can end differently. In the first realization, it ends like this. Da 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 da. And in the second realization, it ends like this. Da 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 da. In both cases, they are both trills, only that their second parts are slightly different. The next ornament is called the mordent, and its variant, the inverted mordent, and is essentially a very quick trill with 3 notes only in total. For the mordent, it sounds like this, da-da-dum, and for the inverted mordent, it's the other way round, da-da-dum, and that's it. And the next ornament is called the turn, or sometimes called the upper turn. And the sign literally looks like a turn, and it can be placed directly above a note or slightly pushed to the side. In the first case, it will sound like this, da-da-da-dum. And in the second case, it will sound like da-da-da-da-dum. So the turn is basically a sign that tells you to play a note above the given note and below the given note before going back to the original note. And their different realizations depends on the placement of the sign. Next, we have the ornament called the acciaccatura, and it's also called the grace note, and is represented by a smaller note head with a line through the tail, and is to be played as quickly as possible. That means when you see an acciaccatura, you have to play the small note as quickly as possible before playing the main note. And then we have the last ornament, which is called the appoggiatura, which looks quite alike the acciaccatura, except that it doesn't have the little line through the tail of the note. And in this case, when you see an appoggiatura, we'll have to play the small note as written, so in this case we'll have to play the quaver beat first, before we play the main note, which from a crotchet now becomes a quaver, because the quaver appoggiatura has eaten up the total time available in this crotchet beat. And now we should be able to answer these 2 questions. The first one is a written out version of a trill, and it's obvious because it alternates between the C sharp and the D. And even though it ends with a quintuplet that looks like a turn, we don't consider that a turn, because we are looking at the entire bracket that includes the alternating two notes that precedes this latter half of the whole gesture. In other words, the quintuplet here is only part of the entire gesture of a trill. And in the second question, we do have a proper upper turn in this case, because it starts with a note above the main note, which is in this case the B, and this is followed by the A below it, before going back to the main note B. And this is how a turn looks like in realization. And in this case, the turn sign would have been directly written above the main note B. And this is how you tackle these two sections. The terms and signs table may seem daunting at first, but just like any memorization work, you shouldn't memorize all of the terms and signs in one go. Rather, if you can plan ahead and spread your workload, for example memorizing a few words and signs every day, then over time you should be able to build a good impression of these terms, and they will come very naturally. If you're looking for some more practice, I'll highly recommend that you visit this interactive site where I've put together a lot of practice tests and mock papers with instant feedback. In the drill mode, you'll have access to all the questions section by section, so that you can focus on specific question types and practice them until you feel confident. There are virtually unlimited questions. In the exam mode, you have access to full papers in the exact format of the exam, with randomized questions each time. You have 2 hours to finish the complete paper, at the end of which you'll be given your score and feedback.